Lauren Tomasi, a journalist for No News Australia, was reporting on the immigration protests happening in Los Angeles on the scene when she was fired at with a rubber bullet by an officer. She's standing there, not near the front line, not agitating, and this man turns, points at a woman who is standing in front of a camera, holding a microphone, and fires at her, completely unprovoked and completely unjustified. And it's pretty obvious from the context that she's a journalist. She's not wearing like a vest or a helmet, but you're in America. You don't need to just delineate yourself extremely obviously in order to be able to be safe at a protest. After that happened, a bit later on, she was then attacked by a bunch of protesters who grabbed her camera, who basically were like shouting at her, saying that she wasn't reporting the truth with no basis or reason whatsoever. Within 2 seconds of seeing her and realizing she was a reporter, they immediately felt the need to shout at her and to tell her to do her job properly without any reason, without knowing what she had said, how she was describing the scene. They just said things for no reason. Now, I was ready for the criticism that I was focusing too much on the protesters instead of the police and talking about this situation, and I do not accept that criticism in any way whatsoever. First of all, I played the clip of her being shot at. I made it pretty clear that I disagreed and thought it was wrong. It's a widely circulated, widely known thing that happened at this protest, so it's not like it's something that I'm like obfuscating or trying to hide from my audience. And also, I made the decision to talk more about this because on my channel, I am a staunch defender of the mainstream media. I think the mainstream media does not get the respect it deserves, that a lot of these journalists do a lot of the heavy lifting for people, and that we basically just take them for granted, and we actually now have reached a point where we are shouting at journalists just for being journalists at a protest without having any reason to do so whatsoever. And I think it is possible for us to walk and chew gum at the same time. I can say in the same breath that the way the police acted was wrong and still focus more on the protest side of things, because that's what I wanted to focus on in that video. That's not me pretending that what the police did is totally fine or not being bothered by it. I am actually more bothered by the protesters than the police situation, because as far as I'm concerned, this is one guy who made a bad decision. Unless the police or the government comes out and like actively defends him, which I would not be surprised if they did, it's just one choice that this guy made. Like, it's not some broader like reflection on the police or the way the police behaved. It's one guy, right? Whereas with the protesters, I think it is symptomatic of a much broader societal problem that we have with how we feel towards journalism and reporters. Let me just add here that I do consider the fact that they're bringing in the National Guard and the way the police have handled this to be wildly disproportionate. Using tear gas, rubber bullets, all of this stuff is totally unnecessary and massively escalates the situation. I'm just saying that the actions of this one guy doesn't reflect how the police feel about reporters in general. So that officer should be fired, he should be investigated, he should never work in the police again. However, that's one guy making one decision at one time. This situation with the protesters is symptomatic of a much bigger problem.